Right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet. It's 7 o'clock, so we'll make a start. My name is Councillor Shantanu Rajwa. I'm the leader of the council and also chair of this meeting. Thank you all for joining us, and thanks for those in the audience as well. Hopefully you get something out of this, and those watching at home as well. I'm joined around the table by colleagues on Cabinet who will introduce themselves as they speak. And we also have officers of the council around the table who support but don't take part in the decision making. Also welcome to you, Councillor Thompson, as Leader of the Opposition, who's got a standing invitation to this meeting. Before we get into the formal agenda, I want to start with some really sad news for Cabinet colleagues and those watching, and that is the passing of our dear friend and colleague, former leader of the council, Alderman Steve Curran, MBE. Steve passed away this morning after a long and very courageous battle with cancer. And he was absolutely fighting till the end. I had the privilege of speaking to his son earlier today, who told me that even till the very bitter end, he was full of as much life as you can be when an illness like this takes you, and very much with his family. For me personally, this is a difficult announcement, not only because I had the honour of serving under Steve's cabinet in the last administration, but actually so many of us around the table and our journeys are linked with Steve's. Certainly Councillor Bruce and I, Councillor Sampson, were elected at the same time as Steve in 2010. We were part of the revival of the Labour Party in Hounslow. Yeah, there are so many stories about Steve. Learning his way, so many early funny stories about Steve. I'll never forget having been newly elected, him believing that he needed to submit a nomination form for a Labour Group AGM, only to find that no one else had, and he'd spent all evening doing it. But what always struck me about Steve is that he was so ingrained within his communities and so passionate about making Hounslow a better place, and absolutely the right person to become leader of the council in 2014. So much of Hounslow has changed for the better, I think, because of his determination and his vision. And he was absolutely a champion for inward investment and for the better for our residents, for our young people, and for our businesses. I'll never forget, he always used to look up at planes as they landed into Heathrow and say, look at that, that's not just an aeroplane, that's money coming into our local borough. Or actually what touched me the most is him going to his first home handover to a resident who'd been waiting for a house for such a long time, and handing over those flowers and saying, actually, that secured the future of a family that were desperate prior to it. And that's exactly what he was. I had the privilege of attending the International Investment Conference last week, MIPIM, which Steve often attended in his time as leader. And a lot is said about MIPIM, and to some people it's got a very bad reputation. But having seen it myself, I now understand why Steve attended, because it is a perfect opportunity to really champion and talk up Hounslow and everything that it stands for, everything that it is, its diversity, and its communities, and how that is a ripe place, how this is a ripe place for inward investment for the borough. To make lives absolutely better. And he absolutely delivered on all of his promises. He was steadfast, and for some people, that divided opinion. I very much saw him as a hero, as someone who absolutely championed the borough and delivered so much. And I suppose the test was always at the ballot box. It always is at the ballot box, and we were always returned, but also by our peers as well when we won Council of the Year in 2021. That acknowledged the leadership, the relationship between Steve and his cabinet and his administration and the officers of this council who work so hard, but also that relationship and that contract with our residents. And so, with all that in mind, it feels strange to have to make this announcement, and know that he's not here. And yet, his legacy is absolutely always around us. When we look out these windows, when we go and meet with communities, when I have the privilege of talking to our communities, our residents, so much of what Steve achieved is the legacy and the shoulders that I'm standing on. And I will always be in debt to him. And I know colleagues around the table will also always be in debt to him. There will be an opportunity for members around the table to express their opinions and views at Borough Council next week. I think that's an apt opportunity. But for now, Steve, wherever you are, thank you for everything that you did for us. Thank you for the foundation that you laid for us. Your legacy will never be forgotten. You won't be forgotten, and you'll absolutely be missed. So, if I may ask those that are able to please stand for a minute's silence. Thank you, everyone. And of course, we'll share funeral details once we are aware of them as well. Okay, so we move to the formal part of the agenda. Just to be clear, members of the public in the audience, you're very welcome to be here. This is a meeting in public. Unfortunately, it's not a public meeting. Only the colleagues around the table are able to take part in the debate and the decision-making this evening. So we move to the first item on the agenda, and that's apologies for absence. I've had apologies from Councillor Shivraj Garawal, and for lateness, Councillor Sampson and Councillor Shaheen, and Councillor Raza as chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Don't think there are any other apologies. No. Okay. Are there any declarations of interests from any members? I think we've had correspondence on the first item on Gunnersbury Catholic School. I think just note that as well. Any other communications to members? No. Can I make members aware of the monitoring officer's guidance on declaring interests, which are within the report pack? Right, we then move on to the minutes of the meeting held on 20th of February. Those start on page 8. I'll take them page by page for accuracy and matters arising. Please do indicate if you've got anything. Page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12. Councillor Bruce.
I actually haven't got page numbers on this. I think it's 12. It's item 6 on the previous minutes. Is that right? Cool. Yeah, on the community infrastructure levy and the S106 funding, there was a minor error in relation to the allocation of one of the schemes against one of the projects. So there's a section where it reads, what's the number? 558 scheme number is actually set against 2 of the projects, which is obviously double counting. So the correction has been tabled this evening, and if members are agreed to that, then that will appear as a correction in the actual report itself. So it should be split between the same amount of money. It's the same amount of money should be split between those 4 projects, and 558 actually is about item number 3 rather than 1. Hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. We'll formally accept that when we get to the end. Page 13. And finally, page 14. So with the amendment that Councillor Bruce has proposed, can we agree those minutes? Agreed. Thank you very much. Good. We then move on to the first substantive item on the agenda, item 3. That's a decision on proposal, to change Gunnersbury Catholic School to a fully co-educational mixed gender school. Councillor Bath, if you'd like to introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, Leader and Chair. I'm Councillor Lily Bath, and I'm the Cabinet Member, Portfolio Holder for Education, Children, Skills and Employment. So the report that you have here today is a proposal from Gunnersbury Catholic School to change from a single sex to a mixed gender school. And Gunnersbury Catholic School is in Brentford. And the reason that you have this report here at Cabinet today is that the local authority in this instant is the decision maker in accordance with the guidance from Department for Education, the DFE. So what this report outlines is the process, the consultation process that the school went through, and also the considerations that the officers took into account in looking at the consultation and the possible impact that this could have on other schools across the system. So when officers looked at the consultations, they didn't just simply look into the numbers of people expressing a particular view, but gave weight to responses from other stakeholders as well who might be affected by the proposal. So I'm just going to explain a bit of the rationale behind why the decision that has been made by the council, well, not made, but proposal to the Cabinet, is that although the council and the officers recognise the rationale behind Gunnersbury Catholic School wanting to change the category to co-educational, the council obviously has to look at what the possible impacts this could be on other schools in the area as well. And they looked at particularly in Brentford School for Girls and Gumley House as well. And that was a key factor in sort of in proposing that we reject the proposal from Gunnersbury. So one of the things that the council did look at, and I think you've probably heard me talk about this here before a number of times, is that obviously we're in a situation, a context where we have declining pupil rolls locally and regionally, and that has to be taken into consideration when you make changes like this. So as a result of looking at the consultation and the proposal, the council is proposing that Gunnersbury Catholic School remain a single-sex school, given the risks, the possible risks it could be to other schools in the area. Now, we sort of understand that, you know, this Gunnersbury School may well be quite disappointed about this, but the local authority must consider the wider sustainability of all local schools in the area, and that's why it's recommended that the proposal is actually rejected. In terms of the future, there isn't anything to stop Gunnersbury perhaps coming back again with another proposal, and then maybe looking further into what the wider implications might be for the other schools. But in the current context that we're operating in, and given that we probably would need to explore a bit more widely about what this proposal from Gunnersbury could possibly lead to in terms of impacting other schools, we are recommending that we reject the proposal from Gunnersbury School. So what I'm asking the Cabinet is to agree recommendations 1, 2 and 3, which is to reject the Gunnersbury School proposal to change to a fully co-educational mixed gender school. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. Councillor Bruce, are you seconding?
Happy to second the proposal, yep.
Okay, it's now open for discussion and debate. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Leader. because I'm not voting, I don't think I have to declare any interests. However, I was, for the record, several years ago, my wife and I chose Gunnersbury School to educate my son, and he had an outstanding education in Gunnersbury. Left 3 years ago. So I know the decision by the school to apply to be co-educational wouldn't have been an easy one, because the school is very successful in educating many young men in the West London area, mainly from the Catholic community, but never solely. I also know, and perhaps here this is more of a declaration of interest if I had to make one, that my daughters went to, and one it still is, at Gumley. So I do understand the bigger concern as to the impact this would have on other single-sex schools in the area. So I know this is not an easy one, so I'm quite thankful I'm not voting and making a decision tonight. But my question would be, it is peculiar, looking at it as an interested person, how we have one Catholic school making a proposal and the other Catholic schools in the borough not particularly happy with it. And my question therefore would be, within this consultation process, what feedback, if any, did you receive, or did the schools receive from the Catholic diocese? Because obviously they also have a concern about planning for numbers for, primarily Catholic children, but also they have to be mindful of the impact that their schools have on, again, the common good of the wider community.
Do you want to respond to that after we've taken the round of debates? Yeah. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on this? No, I can't see anyone indicating. So if you'd like to do it, summing up, Councillor Bath.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Thompson. Yeah, it's obviously not an easy decision to make, and I understand that the school will be disappointed, but we didn't actually receive any formal feedback from the diocese at all. So I think earlier on, one of the things that I sort of briefly touched on is that perhaps there wasn't sufficient exploration with the diocese or the other community of schools around as to what possible impact this could have. But in response to your question, no, we haven't had anything formal.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bath. So we'll move to the vote on this. As you said, Councillor Bath, recommendations are on page 15 over on to 16, number 1, 2 and 3. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Okay, thank you very much. Then we move on to the next item. Thank you those that are leaving this evening. Have a safe journey back. Just give it a minute for people to... Okay, we then move on to the next item on the agenda item 4, which is the future assets strategy. Councillor Bruce.
Thank you very much. Disappointing all those people have left, because I won't get to hear how exciting the future asset strategy is. This is a very exciting report, actually. I do often say that about reports, not just my own. But it is about looking forward to the future and the future of the buildings that we have ownership of in this borough. Some of this work started actually quite a long time ago, 2 years or so ago, looking into, are we utilising our buildings in the best possible way that we should be able to, thinking that it would be a relatively easy process, quick reports, a few recommendations about some of our buildings, bit of consultation, and we can move forward with things. But actually, as officers started looking into things, it became incredibly apparent that there's a huge wealth of a huge variety of buildings in our borough, used in a hugely different way by lots of our community, often very interlinked with each other in different communities. And the council had a number of emerging priorities as well, including our community hubs, but other things as well. So it became very apparent that actually there was much more significant work that was needed to be done here. And starting to draw up an idea of how we're going to best manage the assets, the buildings that we own, looking at some of those key objectives, which are to not just say, oh, we need to save some money as a council, let's shut this, do this, but actually starting from a point of view of how can we best utilize everything that we have. So strategically manage things, providing fit for purpose buildings, maximizing that value and the efficiency, as I've said, and also promoting that regeneration and growth in the local economy. And those aims and objectives have become the official aims and objectives of the asset management strategy, as it now is. So this outlines our general principles and our approach to what we're looking at doing, and what does that mean when we get down into those buildings and those areas? Well, it means that we have divided up the approach into 7 key stages over 2 phases. The first phase of operational stuff, that means that's some internal work that will be looked at by officers. And then the key point comes in phase 2, really. Once some recommendations are made about what various assets and buildings could be potentially in the future, whether that's to keep them as they are, whether that's to make some minor changes and spend a bit of money, whether it's some very strategic and significant changes, or whether ultimately is, and we won't take these decisions lightly, but to dispose of buildings in various ways, asking people out in the community and in those various areas what their thoughts are around that. And that's absolutely at the heart of this. So although we may ultimately be looking to make some significant changes, this will absolutely not be without talking to individuals and community groups right across the borough to understand what the need is around services that are delivered from buildings, understand what the need is about buildings that are underutilized at the moment, and various groups that might want to use them going forward in the future. So it is about making sure we understand that. It is about taking decisions based on the need and the wants of people locally. I am sure in the fullness of time, and I think it's very obvious when changes are suggested like this, there will be some decisions made that not everybody will be happy with. But what we do want to be able to demonstrate, and what the strategy is telling us, is that we will be able to demonstrate exactly what people are saying, what people are doing in those buildings, how they're using them, and can we justify the use continuing, or do we need to change it in some way, whether in a minor way or a significant way. It talks about the buildings that are in scope here: libraries, leisure centres, day centres, care home facilities, that kind of thing. And it talks about those assets that are out of scope, which are our schools, housing, and the highways, and engineered assets such as bridges and things like that. Those will be separately dealt with. And it talks about the areas actually that we're focusing on. Delivery, the first year delivery plan focuses on some particular areas, and I'll say about them in a minute. But it was very clear with the work that the community team are doing, and the community hubs and the family hubs that have been set up, that actually these things need to be looked at in a geographical way, because in those geographical areas, I'm not saying it, there are things merge and blend in between various areas, but we cannot look at these buildings in an isolated way, because changing something somewhere will have an impact elsewhere. So it's understanding the need in Isleworth, or whether it's a smaller section of Isleworth in the Ivory Bridge estate, whether it's Duke's Meadows in Chiswick, or whether it's Heston, whatever the area is, looking at what we can deliver through our assets and how our buildings can best be used is, as I say, absolutely at the heart of this. Delivery plan in year 1, and that's set out as part of the strategy as well, focuses on some key areas, starting in Cranford, where a huge amount of work has already happened, looking at maybe some changes that could happen there. Those proposals will come forward, or coming forward already at the moment, will come forward to the community to look at how they could be worked up and agreed upon potentially in the next few months. We're also looking at Brentford, again, with the beginning of the engagement starting now and starting very soon. Then Isleworth, and as I say, Chiswick and Duke's Meadows and Feltham, linking in with our family hub work that is going on there. So there's a huge amount of background here, and I know I've spoken for about 5 minutes probably, and I haven't covered anywhere near all of it as well. The key messages here are that we know we need to maximize the way that we're using our buildings. We are not in the business here of talking about just cutting, stopping, closing, but it is about saying, well, can we justify how these are being used? And if not, we need to look at a different way, bringing the community and bringing various groups and individuals with us who have an interest, whether a large interest or a very small interest, just the fact that it's a building at the end of their road, perhaps, is something that we want to understand and find out about. So really exciting. It's the end of one bit of the journey, and it's the start of a really exciting second bit of the journey, leading into how we're going to be making sure that everything we do is as fantastic as it can be. So thank you very much, Leader. I move the report.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce, and I formally second the report and reserve my right to speak. Sorry, excuse me. So it's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this one? Councillor Lambert.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Lambert, I'm the lead member for Highways, Recycling and Health Integration, and a member for Brentford West. I welcome this. I think it's really important and probably overdue. I will simply say we are an ambitious council. You can be ambitious with this and do something. There will be some things here which are a little bit scary, and I think we ought to do some things that are a little bit scary to get an exciting, as you put it, benefit. So be brave.
Be brave indeed. Absolutely. Anyone else on this item? No. Councillor Bruce, would you like to sum up?
Point noted about being brave. Yes, there are some potentially scary suggestions that could come forward from this, but alongside that, some very exciting ones. And I think it's incumbent on us all as cabinet, and I encourage my opposition councillors and my colleagues in the Labour group, as well as everybody else in the borough, to get involved in this when it's the focus is on their area, their buildings, their services, their assets that are being looked at, because that's ultimately what it is. It's not mine, it's not ours. It's everybody's here in this borough. So yeah, lots of opportunity for some exciting developments coming forward soon. Thank you.
Good. Okay, we then move on to the vote. The recommendations are on page 132, 1.1, 1.2 and 1.3. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much, colleagues. Right, we then move on to Hounslow Company's performance report, quarter 3. And that is a report by me. If I can find it. So many pages. So this is a regular update report that members will be aware of around the performance of Lambton, our wholly owned company, and its subsidiaries as well. It's a very comprehensive report, so I didn't intend to go through it in any great detail, but very happy to take questions in formally moving it. Councillor Lambert, will you second?
Yes, happy to second and reserve my right to speak.
Perfect. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody? Councillor Thompson.
It is, as you say, Leader, it's a regular report, and I think I regularly make the same comment that the figures don't seem to be shifting in terms of the loss. And I suppose there are items later that might, I suppose that's part of the plan, isn't it, to rectify this. But I think as I asked a few times in previous meetings, how confident are you that we will eventually be turning that corner? Because obviously, as the report says, and it says elsewhere, we can't go on like this long term. That figure is the loss is now 4.3. That's not including the million plus whatever it is we stuck into it in the budget cycle. So something perhaps down the line needs to be done. And I suppose that might lead you into the next report. So feel free to answer it then. But I'll just make the same point. Just for, I think I was criticised the Borough Council for not saying much. I'm going to make amends today by commenting on most, if not all, report. I won't. Thank you, Leader.
We love it, Councillor Thompson. Thank you very much. Absolutely. So there's the point around transparency, and we need to be transparent about it. Yes, there are losses. I think there are many parts of the Lambton business that are delivering very good quality services for our residents, and parts of the business are operating under very difficult circumstances, and we've got to be very open and transparent about that. I won't say any more right now because some of that will be covered as part of the business plan in terms of the relationships and some of that transformation. But it is something that we are constantly focused on, and the relationship is so much stronger than it's ever been between Lambton and us. So actually, that transparency does exist. Anyone else on this? Can't see anyone else indicating. Okay, so the recommendation is on page 187, which is to note the report. Is that noted? Noted. Thank you very much. Right, next item is also from me, and that is item 6, Lambton Leisure to become an agent of Hounslow. Sounds sinister, doesn't it? So this is a technical report for Cabinet to consider. In essence, through the passage of some case law elsewhere, it became apparent that councils that offer leisure services are able to reclaim the VAT. Lambton Leisure, as our provider, can therefore be adapted to become an agent of the council delivering our leisure services, so we can take advantage of that. That is worth about £750,000 per annum, which is a significant amount. Talking to the point that Councillor Thompson just made a moment ago, every penny does help. In terms of practical considerations for our residents, you won't see any difference. It will still be Lambton Leisure on the badge. Your membership will still be with Lambton Leisure, and they will just operate as an agent, and we, as the council, will do the reconciliation. So this is a technical report that takes you through that difference. As I say, it comes from case law, so we are on fairly solid footing in that respect as well. So I formally move the report. Councillor Lambert, you going to second?
Happy to second and reserve my rights.
Excellent. Right, it's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this report? Oh, Councillor Dunn first.
Not much to say, just that it seems like a prudent decision that's going to save us some money and without any cost. So, yeah, obviously the right thing to do. And as you did, sort of linking back to the previous report, I mean, anything that can help us with the health of our companies, because of, they do great things for the council and helping us deliver our services, and some of the things that are set out in that previous report. Sorry to talk about it now, but no, I think they're really important, and the objectives and being able to deliver things, within the Hounslow family, as it were, even if it's not directly by the council, I think is really good, because it means that we all benefit from that, and we know that we have good arrangements for staff and so on. So I think it's a good thing.
Thank you. Councillor Lambert, you had your hand up.
Thanks. Just to say, Lambton Leisure is something we took into the house a few years ago at a very difficult time indeed. Time of the what do you call it? COVID. Yeah. And it's very important that we've managed to keep that leisure service going at a time when it's actually very relevant to the mental and the physical health of the people in Hounslow. And I'm proud that we've kept it going. We also pay the people who work for Lambton properly. They were not so well paid before, and that's important too. And we've got an ambitious management team who are determined to bring the subsidy that we have to give at the moment to an end. So I'm very pleased, and saving £750,000 a year, that will come in handy to all of us. Thanks.
Absolutely. Right, I can't see anyone else indicating on this one, so we'll move to the recommendations. And the vote, it's on page 216, 11, 12, 13 and 14. Can I see all those in favour? Thank you all. That's carried unanimously. Right. Now move on to the Hounslow Health perspective, item 7. Councillor Lambert, back over to you.
So thank you. This is about the health integration programme. The process of beginning substantial integration of health and social services in the Borough of Hounslow is underway, and will be important to underpin our ambitions to improve the health of people across Hounslow Borough. We're working closely with health and social care partners to identify suitable services. The objective of the integration work is to tackle the key health challenges that we face across the Borough of Hounslow. We want residents to live long, happy and healthy lives. We want all our residents to. I'm sure that Cabinet is aware of some of these challenges, but it would be remiss not to reiterate some of them. There's a continued increased demand for our service, with a growing and aging population that continues to be affected by an increased prevalence of long-term conditions. High rates of emergency admissions for older individuals that do not need to be conveyed to hospital. Workforce constraints, which present a serious issue to Hounslow and local health and social care partners. All of this results in spiralling costs that are set to grow rapidly if business continues as usual. We are committed to work with the NHS and other partners in the borough to integrate health and social care services. We must also be clear on what we want any services changed to do for our residents. I'm seeking Cabinet's approval to endorse this health prospect as our position statement on health and social care integration. The health prospectus lays out the Council's vision for what health and social care can achieve for its residents. We seek to address not only ill health, but to tackle the wider determinants of poor health. We want to deliver care that intervenes early and prevents illness from taking root. The prospectus enables us as a council to provide a coherent vision for what we want to achieve and how we want to do so. High quality health and social care is not optional. It is critical. It must be patient-centred. It should be collaborative between different organisations, and it must tackle the wider determinants of health that exist. This prospectus outlines that vision and the outcomes we wish to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lambert. Councillor Chowdhury, you going to second?
Thank you, Councillor Samir Chowdhury, Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care, Public Health and Transformation. Very happy to second the report and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you very much. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody indicating on this one? Oh, Councillor Dunn.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Lambert. I mean, what this gives us is the opportunity to really try to make a move and to shift the dial on something that needs shifting and that we've been talking about in local government, in national government for a long time, and that is tackling those wider determinants of health and moving to more and more prevention rather than cure. As I said, it is something that's been discussed for a long time. It's something in my professional life. I've helped to fund a lot of research, academic research in that field. But we've gone beyond the point now of needing, of doing academic research. We have to get to that point of actually implementing it and making it a reality. It has taken a long time. It's been something that local government has wanted to do that I can't speak for the NHS. I suspect they don't want to do it as much as we do, but at least we're all around the table talking about it now, and this is the opportunity and we have to grasp it. So I think it's really important that we set out what we want from this so that we can then move forward with our partners to to achieving it.
Yeah, absolutely right, Councillor Dunn. And it's a shame that unfortunately national government haven't really gripped this as well as we have. We're already on that journey to a certain degree, although this will formalize it and make it even stronger. But I look at some of the health outreach work that Councillor Chowdhury is sort of leading on in her portfolio with the health outreach team, vaccinating people, even though we don't necessarily need to, and the relentless focus on things like hospital discharge and that interface between social care and health. We're already on that journey. So this is a vital piece of work that will strengthen a very strong foundation as well. And I'm really glad that we're taking this forward and as this evolves. And I think what's really great about this piece of work is, like you say, Councillor Dunn, all of our partners in this space are fully signed up to this and happy to take this forward, funding it and doing the heavy lifting on the thinking around it as well. So I look forward to seeing the end result on that as well. I can't see anyone else indicating, so I'll take us to the vote on this, which is on page 230, and that's an approval at 1.1. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Excellent. Thank you very much. Right, we then just make sure I'm in the right place. Right, item 7 is the Hounslow Company's business plan. So we've had a number of discussions around this. This kind of brings it together for the business plan, and this is the combination of a lot of work behind the scenes between Lambton and the council in terms of the fundamentals of the relationship, the statement of intent in terms of what we'd like Lambton to achieve, what Lambton would like to achieve for itself, its ability to grow and be right sized for the future. So that's a lot of work that's gone in, and this business plan kind of talks to that. And I know, Councillor Thompson, you expressed quite rightly concerns going forward. Those are concerns that we are cognizant to and focusing in on, but we are working very closely with colleagues in Lambton to realise the core of the business, realise those difficult operating circumstances they're under, and make sure it's financially stable going forward. There is a big ambition in Lambton for growth, having consolidated, having looked at their own internal processes, their own internal structures as well. They are a key partner in terms of leisure, recycling, waste, but also that development piece as well, building new houses for our residents as part of our manifesto commitment. So this business plan talks to that. It is, in one respect, very ambitious, but it also talks to some of the consolidation that Lambton need to do over the course of the year. And I think I would welcome that in order to achieve financial stability in the long term as well. So I formally move the report and the recommendations. Councillor Lambert, are you going to second? Reserving your right to speak? Yep.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Wonderful. Right. It's open for discussion, debate, questions. Anyone? Can't see anyone indicating. So I will move straight to the vote on this one. The recommendations are on page 244, 11, 12, and the bullet points within 12. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right. We then move on to agenda item 9, beg your pardon, evolving the use of house for adult education and the community. So Councillor Bruce, as part of his introduction to the asset plan, talked about our community approach and how locality's model is really, really working. This building, we've been in this building since 2019, I think it is. Whilst the working practices within the building have evolved and we have generated some income by renting out some of the space as a result of those changes to working practices, what has remained largely unchanged is the ground floor, which was closed during the pandemic. It is, I think, absolutely the right point as we look at the way people work in the building, the way the community interact with the building, the the launch of the localities model and community hubs within the building to change how we work. There is also an opportunity to bring in adult education as part of our skills agenda. So whilst Councillor Bath looks at youth skills, actually we need to look at adult skills as well and training. And there is a saving that can be derived from ceasing use of adult education at Kingsley Academy and bringing them into underutilised space here. So this project and this proposal before Cabinet looks to release some of the funding, both from capital and the adult education grant, to be able to carry out some changes, which include things like reception desks, additional adult education classes, and a refresh of some of the colleague spaces on subsequent floors to allow collaboration, working more corporately, but also being a base for adult education outside of traditional adult class times as you would find them. So Cabinet are asked to agree the proposal, but also agree the funding that flows from that. So I formally move the report. Councillor Donahue seconding.
Yeah, I second the report and reserve my right to speak.
Excellent. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody like to say anything? Councillor Bath.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader. Yeah, absolutely support this. With my education brief, obviously adult education also falls under that as well. So I think having this, having sort of better, more access to adult education, I think is really important. And I think this will allow that by having some spaces here in Hounslow House, but also obviously better utilisation of Hounslow House as well. So absolutely support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. Anyone else on this one? No, no one indicating. So the recommendations are on page 279 over to 280, 1, 2, and 3. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Wonderful. So we then move on to agenda item 10, quarterly performance reporting for quarter 3. Again, a report that colleagues should be very, very familiar with. Talks about, in an open and transparent way, our performance against our corporate plan and the delivery plan that's contained within it. Again, very self-explanatory. I didn't propose to talk about this for too long, but very happy to take questions in formally moving it. Will you second?
Yeah, second the report, reserve my right to speak.
Excellent. Open for questions and discussion and debate. Anybody? Councillor Thompson.
Just a very quick one on 331. I know if my colleague Councillor Todd was here, he'd raise the point about the air quality and the diffusion tube sites and all that sort of stuff. And the commentary on the final column is interesting. Somebody hasn't got to the bottom of why this is the case. I'm sort of wondering if we would at some stage, and perhaps particularly for Councillor Todd's benefit, because he often speaks about this at Borough Council area forums and anywhere he gets the chance, if we could get to the bottom of why that change seems to be untypical.
Yeah.
Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, we will. I think we're still trying to work it out, but yes, thank you for raising it.
Okay, can't see anyone else indicating on this. So the recommendations are on page 321. 1-1. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right. Then move on to our Thriving Communities strategy. And I'll present this on behalf of Councillor Gaiwal, who's not with us this evening. So this is the 2024 to 28 Thriving Community strategy. And the strategy really is about all the work that we're doing to support civil society within Hounslow. And I know around the table we all agree that civil society is very important because it brings people together, it creates a sense of meaning and local pride, and it campaigns to solve problems. And it also, which is at the heart of what we want to do, reduces social inequality by providing services to those people who are most vulnerable. And I suppose everyone in Hounslow has an interest in ensuring that civil society is both effective and actually is effective, and that means that the council and our public sector partners businesses and residents are also effective. And that's why we developed this strategy based on substantial engagement with residents, voluntary sector groups, council staff, and other partners. And to put some meat on those bones, we've engaged with over 700 external people through interviews, workshops, surveys, and community events. The strategy itself, like with everything we do, is ambitious in its vision, and it will coordinate our work across the council, but it also calls for work across different organisations and sectors across the borough. And the strategy is based around three main pillars: that people are active in their communities, there's a vibrant and responsive VCSE organisations, and there are strong respectful relationships across communities. And it includes a partner commitment from a range of statutory and local organisations. This reflects how much we respect the work of our residents, community leaders, and voluntary sector groups, and so many of our partners have agreed to work with us to support civil society in Hounslow. It's important that we agree this exciting strategy this evening, but what is more important is that our work over the next 4 years to make sure that our communities continue to thrive. And so with that, I formally move the report. Councillor Carroll, are you going to second it? Yep.
Yeah, I formally second and reserve my right to speak.
And that's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody indicating on this one? No, can't see anyone indicating. So we'll go straight to the vote on this, which is on page 346. First bullet point there. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much. Where are we? If you don't mind, I'm just going to take a break for my voice and skip over 12 for a second and move to 13. Councillor Gurwal, would you be happy to present the Safe Community Strategy first?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Thank you. So I'm Councillor Ajmer Gariwal, lead member for Safety and Regularity Services and the chair for the Hounslow Community Safety Partnership Board. And I bring to the Cabinet today the borough's Safer Community Strategy 2024 to 2027. The strategy outlines our ambitious plans to deliver on working with communities to keep Hounslow a low crime borough and a safe place to live, work, study, and visit. It also sports the priority on a safer Hounslow set out in the corporate plan. Our crime levels continued to be below the London average. However, like the rest of London, we have seen an increase in reported crime by 3%. But again, this is lower than the London average, which is 5%. These statistics are welcomed, but our fear of crime level is disproportionately higher than actual crimes and needs to be addressed. This new strategy builds on our achievements to date, which include transitioning from a traditional enforcement approach to one that focuses on preventing crimes, successfully implementing our Safer Communities area-based approach through the creation of a new team working with residents in neighbourhoods, a new network of parents, carers concerned about their children who may be at risk of criminal exploitation or who are being exploited. We agreed a new VOG plan. I was especially pleased to welcome the Domestic Abuse Commissioner for England and Wales to the borough in February. She was impressed with our offer, especially our services for children of domestic abuse. We held a successful Serious Violence Summit co-designed and co-delivered by young people. There are many more examples, but I want to focus on the plans we have for the next 3 years. Our overall ambition is simple. We want our communities to be safe and feel safe. We will deliver on this ambition by focusing on 3 key priorities. Priority 1, that residents are less affected by serious crime. Priority 2, young people and adults exposed and exploited to commit crimes receive help. And priority 3, residents work together to keep Hounslow safe. Now, if these are adopted, there will be no key financial implications for the council. We'll make use of the existing budgets for community safety work. We will enhance the work we are already doing to prevent crimes by increasing the number of council staff working directly with residents in their neighbourhoods. These officers will further improve how we engage and empower communities to work with us to keep our neighbourhoods safe. We want to strengthen the good work we are doing with our voluntary and community sector partners as they provide invaluable services to those impacted by community safety issues. Our equality, diversity and inclusion work outlined in the A Fairer and More Equal Hounslow strategy is key to how we keep crime levels low. This is because we know that residents from some of our communities are more likely to experience and be impacted by crime because of who they are. We want to stop this. Therefore, by the end of the strategy, I commit to having in place a new council-wide area-based safer communities approach. At the heart of this will be new and improved way of responding to our residents and communities affected by crime, antisocial behavior, and other community safety issues. So the success of this strategy is dependent on all of us working together, and I'm confident together we can deliver on the ambitions agreed. So I ask the Cabinet to note the report for approval at Borough Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gurwal. So yeah, as you say, should this be approved, it will go on to Borough Council. I will formally second it and reserve my right to speak. So it's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this one? Councillor Bruce.
I mean, I think it's just worth echoing some of the points that Councillor Garrywell has made, that crime is low in the borough. Crime is low generally. Obviously disappointing that it has gone up slightly, but it's the perception of crime. While that is much higher than the reality, it still affects people in many different ways. And an actual crime and perception of crime affects people disproportionately as well. You made that point in terms of various groups that can be affected much more heavily by either the reality or the perception of that crime. And it's important that this report, this strategy, recognises that, which it does, and attempts to deal with those issues. I would say having a roof over your head, number one priority in life, that security of a safe place to live, but that safety extending out with the people that you live with in some cases, and when you go out and about, that sense of security is probably secondary to that, to that sense of somewhere to live. And so this matters massively to our communities, and matters massively that the council, while not in complete control of everything in terms of safety that happens in our borough, has a big role to play, that we recognise that role and we do what we can in conjunction with our partners in order to address that and give people, hopefully, this is the idea, a sense of that security, living in their homes, out and about on the streets, for their children as well, and for their family. So I very much welcome this, and I think it's a very good step, continued in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. I can't see anyone else indicating, so we'll go to the vote on this. The recommendation on this is on page 400. As I say, should it be approved, it will go on to Borough Council. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to go back to item 12, which is the third-party spend, the updated strategic business case, or addendum as it's described. So the third-party spend program is a big program within the delivery plan that talks to how we spend our money through various different contracts, through our procurement processes, and how we can either extract the most out of our existing contracts, look at new contracts, and look at our procurement processes as well, keeping in mind that we are committed to protecting the Hounslow Pound and having the Hounslow Pound spent in Hounslow. Cabinet are asked to note that Tranche 1 has delivered a number of things. So the corporate service contract review, which is our contract with our partners at Liberata, the company's review that I referenced just a few moments ago, a fundamental review of all of our contracts over £75,000, which is been completed, and then the commission, procurement and contract management as well, to bring us into line with the Procurement Act 2023. Tranche 2 will potentially deliver further benefits, again, further work with the companies and commissioning and procurement, but also post and print. Potentially, if all of the benefits are realised, then we can deliver a saving of circa £2.2 million, which will be very, very welcome. So it's a key bit of internal work. It's also reassuring, I suppose, for residents out there as they start seeing an increased council tax bill fall on their doorsteps, to know that the council is doing everything that it can internally to make sure it is as efficient and lean and getting as much out of its contracts as possible. So I formally move the report. Councillor Bruce, would you mind seconding?
Very happy to second and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bruce. It's open for discussion and debate. Anybody like to say anything on this? Very straightforward report. So I'll move straight to the recommendations. So it is on page 371, 1, 2, 3. There's noted, approve and approve. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much. Right, we're almost there. Item number 14, residential children's home project, the capital revenue and land appropriation approval. Councillor Bath, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're nearly there. So I'm really excited to bring this report, actually, because I think you'll remember some few months back I brought the business case to Cabinet, and what we agreed then is our intention to build a children's home, residential children's home in the borough to accommodate our looked after children. And what I'm doing here today is ask for your approval to build and operate a new 6-bed in-house residential children's home. You will have heard me talk before that although we have one children's home in the borough at the moment for 6 looked after children, there's always a need for more. And we often struggle in terms of finding sort of suitable places that are near. So by going ahead with this proposal, we'll have a residential unit in the borough, which means that we won't have to be sending children far from home and their communities, etc. Better outcomes for children, and we're not then also subject to the market and costs, etc. So what this report is asking the Cabinet to agree, obviously to agree that the proposal, but we will also need money for this, for capital budget, and you'll see that we're proposing around over 2 million for capital to build the home, which also includes 400k for the land appropriation. So at the moment, the land belongs to HRA, and it is it's no longer needed for HRA purposes. The site is the property there has been empty for a while, and it's not earmarked for or suitable for HRA use. So with this report, I'll be asking for Cabinet's approval to go to the Secretary of State to do all of that land transfer thing to HRA, from HRA to the general fund. I think probably that's all I need to say on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sampson, would you mind seconding this one? Yeah.
Yes, Leader, I would happily second this and reserve my right to speak.
Brilliant. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody? Councillor Bruce.
Yeah, very happy to be supportive of this. We have a wonderful children's home in this borough. Visited 2 or 3 occasions, and when I held a portfolio previously, and always looking for further opportunities to support our looked after children in our borough and keeping them within our borough. That's really the key message here. But keeping them safe and secure within a really fantastic facility that I know this will be. It's taken a lot of work to get here. I think Stephen, you and I were talking about this a long time ago when I had the portfolio, but it takes a while to get this to this point. And well done to both of you, Lily and Stephen, for pushing forward and continuing with this, because although it's difficult, it is absolutely the right thing to do, and couldn't be any more supportive, leader. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Excuse me, anyone else on this? Councillor Lambert.
Yeah, this strikes me as a very positive thing. It will save us money. It will keep people well in our borough and much more local to where they live, and bring it on fast as we can.
And we plan to bring more. There we go. Anyone else on this one? No, can't see anyone indicating. So the recommendations on this are on page 445 over to 446. 1 to 6. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Right. There is on the printed version, there is a slight error on the next report. So item 15 is the appropriation of various properties and land between general fund, housing revenue account and highways. It does say, Councillor Bath, it's yours, but it's not yours. Councillor Bruce, over to you.
It is mine, and it's very, very straightforward technical report, but just asking for Cabinet's agreement to transfer 2 pieces of land, one a former caretaker's house and another small strip of land in Brentford, to move them from one council budget into another council budget. But it's important that we have this open and transparent and there for any audit trail that's necessary. But that's really simply what it is. Thank you.
Councillor Sampson, would you second this one?
Happily, and reserve my right to speak.
Perfect. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this one? As I say, fairly straightforward report. Literally moving money from one end to the other. I can't see anyone indicating, so I'll go straight to the vote on this one. Recommendations are on 488, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3 on 489. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right. I've not had any referrals from any other council committees. Neither have I had any urgent business. We now take a break. I don't know why. What's happening in the next couple of months, I wonder. But next meeting is Tuesday, the 14th of May at 7 p.m. We do have one exempt item. So can someone move exclusion of press and public? Councillor Bath, is that seconded? Councillor Chowdhury, thank you very much. Is that agreed? Agreed. Okay, so those watching at home, thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you got some out of it, and we'll see you in May. Gary, let us know when you're off.